I grew up in the Chicago area and actually went to school for art. Professional artist. It's kind of like my background. But it turned out that the 12-year-long relationship that I was in, straight relationship, wasn't going to work out because I figured out wasn't straight. Pulling myself out of this extremely rooted life. We had a house together, we had dogs, I'd had this life for 12 years. And the big move, first living in like my, friend's back room for a while, trying to figure out how to live as a separate person, and figuring out this identity that I've never accepted before. That's kind of where I see the life where I'm at now kind of starting. Leaving my dogs behind and just taking my small animals and my stuff across the country to go live with my now partner in Seattle, a place that I've never set foot in or visited before moving there. Maybe it's just me, but growing up in the Midwest, like having roots where you're at and with your family is such a thing. At least in my sphere of growing up, pulling them out and doing something different is like not demonized, but it's kind of unfathomable. So I'd originally gone into illustration because I knew I could draw, and then was hoping to do like concept art for things that would exist. And it never worked out because that was right when physical effects stopped being a thing and 3D art, computer graphics took off. So I'm like, well, I'll just do illustrations in genres that I like, so I still get to draw horror or fantasy creatures. But I hated it. And I didn't realize that I hated it until I started going to Path with Art classes. When everything shut down, I also shut down and I couldn't make art. And like I had commissions, I had, these obligations. I needed to make money because I lost half my income and I couldn't do it. And I had to drop a bunch of projects and missed out on a bunch of opportunities and canceled a bunch of things. It was really bad. I learned about Path with Art from a little brochure that was sitting on a table at my counseling place, but it was always, I would have to go there, and getting out and traveling, and that's all either difficult or impossible for me for different reasons. So once the lockdown happened and the classes came onto Zoom, I was able to go. The first class that I showed up to, it was drawing hands, and I was blown away by I love the teacher and how she approached the class. Was there at the beginning, there was like a breathing, grounding, we are here right now, put away, your inner voice, the outside voice, the things going on right now, whatever you're bringing in that you don't want to keep right now, and so we had a moment of doing that, and this might be the only time that you let go of your anxieties all week, so let's do that. And that in itself was my favorite part of the class. And because we were in that place and the teacher was so responsive and encouraging to specifically what each one of us were doing, I drew in that class like I've never drawn before. I'm like, this is how the art classes are? I'm like, remembering my anatomy classes and my drawing classes from school, which were basically hand drawing classes, like they were just crushing or boring or restricting or empty. And the way that class is what kept me coming back every quarter. Coming from the Midwest, like all of these things that are put on you, either whether it's, labels or expectations or family ties or beliefs or, just trying to stay safe in your environment. Like, it's not just tied to your identity, it is your identity. I also come from this world where if you do things that are for yourself, it's labeled as selfish. And so like trying to find your actual identity in that is impossible. I had to tear down my old identity, which was you're left with nothing, because, you know, my entire identity had been formed by other people. My entire art identity is how other people are relating to it. The stuff that I'm trying to do internally now is very much reflected in what I'm doing with my art. In Path with Art, you're learning how to make actual art, and then making actual art, which to me is creating something from you. Making art that is from you is itself healing, especially having teachers that know how to bring that out. Like, you can't get that in normal art classes. At least to me, I've been in a lot of art classes, but this is the only time that I've actually felt like I was creating art, if that makes sense. I've noticed that I'm kinder to myself, I guess, which is very hard for me. I've got a lot of baggage. I come from a background where you are not taught to be kind to yourself. So trying to be okay with myself and whatever I do is kind of the big struggle of my life. And I've noticed that Path with Art has helped that. And I also, just as a person, am extremely isolated. I'm pretty much agoraphobic. And even without that, extremely introverted, have lost a lot of friends, I don't have a whole lot left. Coming out of lockdown and the pandemic, people are getting back to their lives and reconnecting and going and doing what they want to do. And I'm still in my little cave watching everybody else leave. I at least have a sort of want to connect to people out there, or a community, or anything out there. I have a little bit of a want, which I did not have before. So now as everybody's leaving, I don't know if I want to follow, but I don't want to lose everybody. And I want to have some connections and put myself out there a little bit. And I very much blame Path with Art for that.